Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of PLANTSTRONG Snackables, where Jessica and I chew on all things food and specifically plants. Jessica is my wonderful co-host. She also is the heroine of healthy ingredients. If there's something healthy, she has discovered it and knows all about it.
And I'm trying to sneak it into as many PLANTSTRONG products as possible.
Please do.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well today, Rip. How are you?
I'm well. I'm jacked. You know, the Olympics were fantastic. I absolutely adored watching them. My family, and is it my family and me or my family and I? Anyway,
My family and I enjoyed watching them.
My family and I, we loved watching them, especially the swimming. I'm an ex-swimmer, so I love watching swimming. Many people think that watching swimming is like watching cows graze, but
Sure.
I adore it. And have loved watching the American swimmers really do exceptionally well. There's something that I want to bring to your attention and all of our listeners, and it really has steamed my clams over the course of the games. And specifically, this was directed at two swimmers, Katie Ledecky and Lily King, both world record holders and amazing swimmers, that these American athletes are settling for silver. And if you get a bronze medal, that basically equates to a loss, which I absolutely find ridiculous. You know, Katie Ledecky takes the high road and just laughs these people off in the comments they're making. Mm-hmm. Lily King, on the other hand, if you don't know Lily, she's incredibly outspoken. And basically she says, you know, pardon my French, but like, since when do we not celebrate when we get a silver and a bronze medal? That is total BS.
Good for her. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it just it takes me to this quote that I just love, and I want to read it.
Okay.
And it's by Theodore Roosevelt, and it's called "The Man in the Arena," but let's substitute man or woman in the arena, and I'm going to read it right now.
I know this quote. It's a great one. I'd love to hear it again.
I love it. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error or shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement? And who at the worst, if he or she fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his or her place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. Thank you, Theodore, for that. And I just want to say to those people that are basically saying that these American athletes are settling for silver and getting a bronze is the equivalent of losing, I say BS.
Yeah.
And take to heart that quote by Theodore Roosevelt.
Absolutely. That's a memorable one. And when you read it, two things came to mind for me. One is, of course, Brené Brown, whose Daring Greatly was named after that quote. That's how I became familiar with it, which I'm sure many of our listeners know and are familiar with Brené Brown. But the second thing is...
For those that don't, who is she?
She's an author and at this point public figure who really talks about vulnerability, and putting yourself out there and being brave and resilient and getting through. And the second thing that this quote reminds me of, and I think the reason that Brené Brown is so important in my life is, we have this internal quote about the food industry. Food is hard. It is an arena. We get bloodied and battered and dusty and, get thrown these curveball challenges. But we keep coming back to that mission, right? We keep coming back to the mission and what we're trying to provide for our community and our listeners.
That's so true.
Right?
Food is so hard, especially when you're trying to do retail, e-commerce, come up with amazing products.
And challenge supplier partners to do things they've never done before. You know, a lot of the people who are helping us make these products, we're asking them to do things they've never tried.
Well, great point, because instead of just us procuring a product that exists that they're already making, we're asking them to go outside their box, their comfort zone, and really stretch them, as you just said. And when you can actually nail it, as we are doing, there's nothing as satisfying.
It is very satisfying, and it takes a long time. I was actually going to ask you if your prior life as a triathlete prepared you for a future life in food retail, because you need the endurance, tenacity, all those qualities.
Well, I think it gave me the grind mindset, where you just keep grinding and grinding, and you just don't give up, right?
Yeah.
And I had a woman on the PLANTSTRONG podcast recently, Sonia Looney, and she's a world record holder mountain biker, and she has this great saying that the work is the reward.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And these successes wouldn't be so rewarding if we didn't have the challenges to contrast them, right?
Yeah.
And we do a good job of celebrating the wins when they happen, and I think that comes back to your, celebrate the silver, celebrate whatever wins you get thrown your way.
Shoot, I'll celebrate a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. I'll celebrate making the Olympic team.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't think people realize how hard that is. I mean, I went to the Olympic trials in swimming in 1984, and I got 22nd and 24th in my respective events. And you are going against some of the best athletes in this country and there's typically, in swimming, they take the top 2.
Amazing.
The top 2.
Yeah.
So it is just so phenomenally difficult to make the squad. And anyone that does, you are absolutely a winner through and through and through.
Well, congratulations to the athletes who took gold, took silver, took bronze, placed, made it to the trials, or performing.
You know what? So this just brings me to another guest that I had, Darren O'Lean. He basically says, show up, right?
Show up.
You just got to show up, right? So I celebrate anyone that shows up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
Get out of your bed and show up in life.
Yes. Thanks. I needed to hear that today. It's good to hear that every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So speaking of showing up, I just want to say that, my friends, the Sarno brothers, Chad and Derek, who, they have the Good Catch, and Derek's over in the UK working with Tesco. They've both been on the podcast. Derek was on recently season 3. Chad was on season 2. They've been longtime friends of mine. We worked together at Whole Foods for, probably 5 years. But they are just launching their brand called Wicked Healthy over in the United States, and they're going nationwide for starters with Kroger and Sprouts, and I just wish them all the best.
Incredible. I can't think of that's what an incredible retailer to grow with.
Yeah. And you talk about 2 guys that have been grinding away and showing up day after day. Oh my goodness gracious.
They're doing a lot. Those 2 and their team. But national launch in 2,500 Kroger and Sprouts stores.
It's a huge win.
So excited for them.
So speaking of wins, right?
Yes. Speaking of wins,
we will actually be launching into Whole Food Market stores in August.
Yeah.
Right?
They should be there already. I mean, depending on how fast your Whole Foods gets these, you could have PLANTSTRONG broths and chilies and stews on the shelf in your local Whole Foods.
Yep. So we've got 8 SKUs going into Whole Foods nationwide. It has been a long, arduous last 2 years, but the time is here and the time is now.
It's here. It's now. And you're right. It's, I was like, oh man, we've been working on this for the better part of a year, maybe 15 months. No, it's been longer than that since the discussions were started.
Yeah.
So in today's episode, I think it would be wonderful to talk about some of the challenges that we faced. I think it would be really interesting for some of our listeners to hear about the process and, again, what kind of happens behind the scenes.
Sure.
Through development, some of the challenges that we faced, sourcing unique ingredients, getting appropriate certifications, and then as we're doing that, maybe talking through some of the reasons why we included specific ingredients that we chose to include.
Yeah, well, you're the heroine of healthy ingredients.
Yes,
so
I'm eager to talk about those.
That would be fun to talk about.
Great.
But so I think just for the sake of time today, why don't we focus today on our stews and our chilies?
Great.
And which we affectionately are now calling our chews,
Yep.
which is a amalgamation of chilies and stews. So feel free to refer to these as the PLANTSTRONG chews.
It's catchy. Somebody coined it, and we've embraced it, and it's just stuck. Well, great. Well, yeah, let's start talking about those.
Where do you want to kick off?
Well, I think what I'm most excited about, or one of the things that I think our audience will be excited about because they're already familiar with it, we're bringing back a remastered Engine 2 Firehouse chili. That's
this
one SKU that's definitely making a comeback.
This little guy right here. Yeah. No, that I am super excited about that one. That actually, so when that was on the shelf as Engine 2, it probably was for 6 years at Whole Foods. It was definitely one of our best-selling Engine 2 products. And then what happened is there was an issue actually with the people that make Tetra Paks. One of them went out of business, and Engine 2, the PLANTSTRONG chili, was a casualty of that going out of business. But it's back. It's better than ever.
We found a new supplier partner to make this for us, and they've been amazing. And actually, for the recipe or the reformulation of the Engine 2 Firehouse chili and all of our SKUs, we've brought in an incredible, I call him our celebrity chef.
Well, I'd say he's more of a PLANTSTRONG chef whisperer. He really is. The thing about his name is Ken Rubin.
Yes.
And he runs the Ruby Cooking School. It's an online cooking school. And Ken, he's just got such a sophisticated, nuanced palate, and he knows exactly what things need, what there's too much of. And so he's been on the team now for well over a year.
Yeah, but he's been working with us lockstep on all of these reformulations through the whole recipe development process, and his contributions have been invaluable.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this is truly a team effort.
Well, I know with our meetings with Ken, I always come away with something else. Like, of course, we talk about the chilies and stews and making progress there, but then he gives us little tips and tricks for our kitchen. Any that stuck with you? Any that you remember? Or we've heard so many, it's hard to kind of pull from.
Well, I think one of the biggest, and it doesn't so much apply with the Firehouse chili, but more with like the kitchery, which is our Indian lentil stew, and that is basically how a lime, a little bit of a lime juice, can just do wonders for a lot of these dishes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say it still even applies to the Firehouse chili. I think all of these SKUs would be served well with a side of lime. So yes, the lime, that's something I've taken from him.
Yep.
He puts a lot of smoked black pepper. That's like a key ingredient.
So I didn't even know there was an ingredient called like smoked black pepper.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we've in one of our I think it was the shiitake mushroom or one of them, he mentioned how just a little bit of porcini can go just a long way. Porcini mushroom.
Yes.
But not too much, and it's like more expensive than gold.
Yes, I think it's something crazy expensive. But yeah, a little bit of the porcini mushroom goes a long way in terms of flavor. But coming back to beans, and lime, the biggest takeaway from our calls with Ken was for me to always squeeze fresh lime on beans specifically. And I just want to say, listeners, keep limes in your house. Squeeze lime on top right before you serve beans. The flavor combination, it is magic. And you see this in Austin at every taco place, burrito place. It always comes with a side of lime, and there's a reason for that. It brightens the flavor, as Ken would say.
Yeah, what you're doing essentially is, maybe using Ken's words a little bit, is you're squeezing a little bit of sunshine on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, Rip, did you know?
Yeah.
Here, this comes from the ingredient heroine here. Did you know that there's a really important reason you want to eat lime and beans together? It's because, do you know? I'm
gonna say the lime does something with the citric acid.
Good guess. Yes.
Okay.
It's really the vitamin C, actually.
The vitamin C.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So does it do something to bump up the absorption of the iron?
That's right. So vitamin C of the lime actually boosts the absorption of iron from the beans. So if you're someone like me who might struggle with anemia, right?
And for those who don't know, Jess is pregnant.
Yeah, exactly. Another important factor. I mean, I have my blood tested for iron content pretty regularly these days. So if you're someone who struggles with anemia, remember to squeeze citrus on any iron-rich foods you're consuming. I think another great one would be like kale and lemon, right? There's a lot of iron in kale. Squeeze a little lemon on there. That's a delicious combo too. So I think it's interesting. I'm like, good job, nature.
Yeah.
Our taste buds kind of direct us to the flavor combinations that make the most sense for us.
Yeah.
Which is so cool.
No, great sources of iron are greens and beans.
Greens and beans.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
Power those down and
serve them with citrus.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I want to pause for a second and talk about bean consumption here. I actually struggle to eat beans every day. I'll have a good, spree. I eat them almost every day, but sometimes I just forget. And if I don't have a batch prepared at home, like ready to go, they just fall off my radar.
What's interesting is, so I think between hummus, chickpeas, black beans, pinto beans, red lentils, yellow lentils, it's actually, I feel like we always have one of those lying around the house. So I know I'm always getting at least one serving of those a day. And when I do my rice and beans extravaganza, like, watch out, it's probably 3 servings of beans.
Yummy.
On top of that brown rice.
Well, that's what you're supposed to get. I mean, try to get 3 half-cup portions of beans per day if you can for optimal health. That's great. That's on Gregor's Daily Dozen. That's where I'm getting that from.
Yeah.
But when I think about, consuming beans, it wasn't something I worried about until I found out I was expecting. And then, of course, whenever I tell my doctor or the nurse or whoever that I'm vegan, they're like, and where are you getting your protein from, right? So I want to be more conscientious about my protein intake, and it's really my calorie intake, because I know if I'm eating enough calories, I'm confident I'm gonna get enough protein, but I'm quickly losing space down there, and so I have to be really efficient about my food choices.
So you mean as you're getting more and more pregnant,
yes,
is your appetite decreasing?
It's my appetite's there, but I just feel full so fast.
Oh wow.
So I actually have had to make a shift and not eat watermelon and eat beans because
more calorie dense.
More calorie dense. It's strange. Yeah, more calorie dense these days.
Well, and beans, obviously they're a stupendous source of protein, of fiber, of calories, and everybody here probably knows about the blue zones.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And the work of Dan Buettner, who's been on the podcast, season 1.
Yeah.
But in the blue zones, it's interesting. So I was having dinner with Dan and a bunch of other people, and I said, "Do you know how I remember the 5 different blue zone cultures?" And he said, "No, please share." And I said, "It's an acronym, and it's lions, and L is Loma Linda, I is Icaria, Greece, the O is Okinawa, the N is Nicoya in Costa Rica, and then S is Sardinia. And he's like, I never thought of that. He and a couple other people at dinner said that they go like across the world and kind of east to west. And that, to me, my brain doesn't work that way.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, lions, I'll remember that. Well, it's funny you should bring up blue zones, and I actually had that in my notes for today's session. Beans are a staple meal in all 5 of the blue zones. It's one of the common dietary threads, and people in the blue zones eat at least 4 times as many beans as Americans do on average. 4 times. So that's clearly a contributor to longevity, and studies have found legume consumption to be the single most important dietary predictor of longevity. And the results show that for every 20 grams increase in daily bean intake, there was an 8% reduction in risk of death. Isn't that incredible?
Incredible, but also, to me, not surprising.
Yeah.
Beans are just so insane.
They're so good for you. And for this reason, we wanted to make sure to crank up the beans in our recipes. Every one of our chilies and stews has at least 2 kinds of beans, and the Firehouse chili actually has 3.
3
That's
beans,
right.
3 wonderful beans. Yes, we've got the red kidney beans, we have the black beans, and we have the navy beans.
That's right.
All organic.
All organic. That's right. Should we talk about our second SKU, the white chili?
Absolutely.
Creamy white chili.
Here we go, the creamy white bean chili.
So for people who might be interested in trying it, it's made with a variety of vegetables and a creamy base. What do we have in there? Cannellini beans.
Cannellini and navy beans.
We have some sweet potatoes and cauliflower. We've got the green chilies in there, right, to give it some flavor.
And don't forget the hominy.
Hominy. I had never used this before. It was a forgotten ingredient.
I'm embarrassed to say that I had never used hominy before. I knew of hominy, but I didn't realize what a fan I was of it. It's basically like a big ass kernel of corn.
Yeah, I think it's like a corn kernel and a chickpea had a baby. Like, that's what it's like to me.
Yes.
It's a combination. But yeah, it's a forgotten ingredient that I think we need to bring back to recipes. It's a really great whole grain. It's a very mild texture. It has a nice crunch to it. And I think it's most commonly used in pozzoles, but I think it would be great in any soup or anything where it might call for a bean or a whole grain.
Yeah.
And you can find it in the international section of any grocery store. You can find it anywhere. So don't forget about hominy.
Yes. Very important new ingredient.
Yeah, and the creaminess of this soup actually comes from an unusual place. So, of course, we didn't use any dairy or, no milk, no cheese. But
Never.
we didn't use alternative milks either.
No.
We used tahini, which doesn't seem like it would fit with a white chili, but that diluted, mild flavor creates this subtle creaminess that's really spread out really well. So home chefs.
And just for people that don't know, tahini is basically it's ground up sesame seeds.
Yes, finely ground sesame seeds, exactly. So I think that's my little trick to all you home chefs out there. Keep in mind, if you want to add a little creaminess to your soups, nut and seed butters in small amounts are a great way to add creaminess to your home cooked soups.
Yeah. Just if I could backtrack just a little bit, one of the things why we decided to kind of foray into these stews and these chews was I was meeting with the category manager at Whole Foods, and we were discussing some products that we could go into Whole Foods with. And our Engine 2 veggie stock was really our top performer of all the Engine 2 products that we had. And she's like, Rip, I would love to see you take kind of the clean ingredients that you have in here, the low sodium, no added oils, no added sugars. And if you could apply these to some kind of ready-to-eat meal solutions, chilies, stews, and soups. And so that's exactly what we decided to try and do. We felt like there was a kind of a white space, a bit of a hole in the market there. And we've been navigating, trying to get these products just right for literally the last 15 months, and that's why we're introducing these. They're just so important, and there's nothing like them out there.
Yeah, no, I think it'll stand out on shelf, and I love Amy's. I think they're a great brand. I love some of the ready-to-eat vegan chilies that are out there, but a lot of them are really high in sodium. I mean, there's a stark contrast. And then to your point about, no added sugar, that's, commonly added to a lot of stews that are out there, soups that are out there as well. So, I'm really proud of the incredible flavor that with Ken's help we got to. Using these limited ingredients, it's easy to make something taste good when it has, butter and sugar and salt and all that stuff. But it's more challenging when you have those limitations.
And we like a good challenge.
We do. We like a good challenge for sure. Well, would you like to talk about our Thai carrot chickpea?
Absolutely.
Stew?
Where's that hiding?
Here, I think it's this one over here.
No.
Oh, you're right. Where'd that come from? Yep.
Yes. There she blows, right there.
Rip found it. Good job.
Yeah.
So with the stews, we do have more complex flavors. We have all sorts of spices in there. We've got garlic, we've got ginger, we've got galangal, lemongrass, kaffir limes, all those traditional.
Galang who?
Galangal. Have you seen it in the grocery store?
I don't know if I have.
It looks like a big, bulky ginger. It's like ginger on steroids, and it's really hard to chop. If you can find ground galangal or pureed galangal, I would do that.
Is it kind of in the same neighborhood as turmeric and ginger? Like looking like that kind of rooty?
Yes, exactly.
Funky.
Larger, but yes, it does. It looks like a really big ginger, but it doesn't have a bitter flavor. It adds a really nice flavor without. You can overdo it with ginger, and you can definitely overdo it with turmeric.
What about with galangal?
One time we overdid it with galangal, Rip. One time.
Oh my gosh. We went through 28, I think it was, iterations to get this just right.
Yes.
And a couple of those iterations, the galangal was through the roof.
It was like 20x the amount of galangal that we needed. It turned the entire soup brown. And when it comes to powdered galangal, I'll say you can absolutely overdo it. That was that was rough. That was rough.
Yeah. But the impetus for this was, I love Thai. I love a really good kind of carrot soup. And there's a recipe in the engine too. It's a Thai carrot soup. And so we kind of use that as the base. And then I think, you were the one that said, you know what, let's add some
beans. Right. And this was inspired. Talk about little things affecting the future. Evan and I were watching we watched Dr. Greger's videos, nutritionfacts.org's videos, in our spare time because they're so informative. And there was one video where Dr. Greger compared the antioxidant content of 10 different types of commercial beans. So pinto beans, lima beans, red kidney beans, black beans, navy beans, red beans, black-eyed peas, mung beans, lentils, and chickpeas.
Wow.
Which do you think came out on top?
Let me guess. Only because where this conversation started, I'm going to go back to the almighty chickpea.
It was number 2.
Oh.
Chickpea was number 2, and lentil was number 1. I was surprised. I thought it was going to be kidney beans or, black beans. When I think antioxidant content, I think about color and richness. So I was surprised to hear that. But yeah, chickpeas were number 2, lentils were number 1, and I think the reason that lentils beat out chickpeas was because the nutrients are concentrated in the seed coating. And since the lentils are so small, right, the ratio of coating to filling is a little bit different.
Those sneaky little guys and girls.
So for this reason, we were inspired to bring in chickpeas and red lentils into our Thai carrot stew, and it officially became Thai carrot chickpea.
Yeah. It is dynamite.
Yep. So takeaways for listeners: load up on beans. Bonus if they are chickpeas and or lentils, and put some lime on it.
Now, I do think it's important to let our audience know that this and the Indian stew that we're going to talk about next, the khichdi, are not technically labeled as organic. Can you speak to that?
Oh my gosh. So, a challenge that was thrown our way. Let's see, we were finished with the packaging, finished with the recipe. We thought it was delicious, got it to a place where we really loved it. And then we go to submit for USDA organic certification and find out, well, a little bit of background. To get USDA organic certification, 95% of your ingredients by volume have to be organic. Yep. So, you know, if you put together a recipe and the black pepper isn't organic, it's
a little bit of wiggle room.
A little bit of wiggle room, exactly. And so we submitted, and we are at, I think with the Thai carrot chickpea, 99.97% organic by volume.
Yep.
But the galangal,
the lemongrass, and the kaffir lime leaves.
Yes, which we used in very small amounts.
Because they're all of them are almost the last ingredients.
Yes, very small amounts.
In the deck.
Those were not on the FDA's list of improved exception ingredients. So black pepper is. Some of those more common ingredients are, but because these were so obscure, they didn't make the list of FDA's acceptable ingredients. So because we have them in there, we cannot get USDA organic certification.
But it's safe to say this is, by volume, 99.7% organic?
Yes, 99.97%.
Oh, 97.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Really high percentage. More organic than some other things that probably have USDA organic on there. Yes. And we ran into the same issue with our Indian lentil stew as well.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which.
Yeah. So let's talk about this one. This is the one that I will be purchasing. This is the one that I'll be coming home with.
Wait. You're going to be coming home with all of them.
I'm going to be coming home with all of them. This is probably the one I will consume most frequently, I should say. So it also has the most interesting backstory to how it came about. So khichdi has been one of my favorite recipes since I learned about what it was. And I like it because...
When did you learn about it?
I learned about it while I was at Whole Foods from one of their health coaches, their healthy eating team members.
I can't believe that I have never heard of khichdi, that I never had it either.
Yeah, so it's referred to as the chicken soup of India. So if you're not feeling well, you have an upset stomach, and you live in India, your mom's probably going to make you khichdi. And khichdi means mixture. In this case, it's a mixture of yellow split peas, red lentils, and brown jasmine rice, which I love. And it's considered to be a very healing, comforting food. And then, of course, when you add in all of the spices like the turmeric and the ginger, we've got coriander and cumin and fenugreek and fennel. It's just really, you feel better after you eat it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. And I can remember I invited you and Evan. I think it was a hot day. And I was like, you guys come over on this weekend, Saturday or Sunday, and come swimming. We have a nice little pool in our backyard. And you guys came over, and you were such incredible guests, and you brought us dinner. Not only did you bring us dinner, you brought us this huge, massive bowl of khichdi. I think you also had a side of limes.
Yep.
And then you also had a side of, I think it was
sweet potato.
Sweet potato, and I almost think you had steamed greens.
Yeah, or broccoli. I can't remember which one.
Yeah. But after the swim, we all went into the kitchen, we dove in, and I kid you not, the kids were going gaga goo goo crazy over it. We demolished it, And we're like, next weekend, we want you guys to come over and swim again and bring the kitchery.
Yes, I remember. I think the next time we went to your house, one of your little ones was like, did you bring kitchery? Maybe they asked for it. Maybe
It was
I remember.
Sophie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there was a little bit of an ulterior motive there, Rip. It wasn't just us being nice. No, I don't know.
So you knew you were working on the stew and the chews development, and you wanted this as an option.
Well, we wanted you to approve of anything that we were doing with product development, but knowing the health benefits of lentils, knowing how incredibly delicious and nutritious this recipe was, I think your hang up at the time with pursuing this route is, justifiably, nobody knows what a kitchery is. It was the name, right?
Good point. And I feel like if we would have called it kitchery, it would have gotten a little bit overlooked.
I think you're right.
On the shelf.
I think you're right.
And so we came to what I think is a really great kind of compromise.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The genius of Indian lentil stew.
Yeah. So on the very, very top it says kitchery, and then bigger letters it says Indian lentil stew, and so everybody got their way.
Yes, exactly.
And now, will you speak, because being the heroine of healthy ingredients, will you speak to the, I think it's the black pepper and the
turmeric
that we strategically have in the kitchery?
Yeah, so there are two things that I want to bring up about this product, or the recipe, which we'll get to in a second, because we're going to share that information with people as well. So the first thing is the intentional use of turmeric with black pepper. So turmeric, as we know, it's known for its anti-inflammatory properties, of its key ingredient curcumin, right? And pepper is an important complementary ingredient to turmeric because of piperin, a compound in black pepper. It actually enhances curcumin absorption by 2,000%. I mean, it really boosts absorption in the body.
2,000%?
So vitamin C helps boost iron absorption.
Yep.
And piperin, which is in black pepper, helps boost absorption of curcumin.
Wow, that's in the turmeric.
That's in the turmeric, exactly.
Isn't nature just astounding?
It is, yeah. So if you're making anything with turmeric, make sure you just need a little black pepper. And turmeric in particular, and the ingredient I'm going to talk about next, contain large quantities of salicylic acid, which is the main ingredient in aspirin. So consuming a teaspoon of turmeric gives you the same amount of salicylic acid as a baby aspirin.
No wonder this is the chicken noodle soup of India.
Yeah, right? I thought about the Bayer aspirin campaign where it was like, take one daily to prevent a heart attack, right? Because of, how it, I guess, thins your blood, right? That's what aspirin does. It's a natural blood thinner.
Yep.
Well, I don't think you need to take aspirin. I think you should just have a little turmeric with black pepper.
Very important.
Very important.
Yeah. Anything else on the kitchery?
Oh, yes. So the reason we didn't get organic certification is because we absolutely had to include one key ingredient.
Now, is this because of Ken Rubin, or is this because of your husband?
So this is, again, because of Gregor. And I was inspired by, I was reading the book, How Not to Diet.
Yep.
And one of the things that he talks about is black cumin. So it's not actually related to cumin. It has a peppery flavor. It's used in Indian and Middle Eastern cuisines for centuries. It's known for its medicinal qualities and was actually found in places like King Tut's tomb.
Wow.
Like it's like known for its health properties. And there are over 1,000 research papers published on this ingredient. A typical dose is 1 to 2 grams per day, which is about a quarter of a teaspoon.
Yep.
And what's great about all of these studies is that the black cumin can easily be consumed in capsule form, which enables researchers to do the gold standard randomized double-blind placebo-controlled studies. So results from these studies showed that daily black cumin consumption improves cholesterol, improves triglycerides, improves blood pressure, blood sugar control, and even facilitates weight loss.
Wow, not much to not like about black cumin.
Absolutely.
And I find that it also has a really wonderful flavor, and a little bit goes a long way. And I remember we had a couple where we had too much black cumin.
Yes.
And we had to dial it back. And I think we've kind of arrived at the Goldilocks version of black cumin in our kitchery, and it is dynamite.
It is dynamite, for sure.
It's so unique.
It is. Well, so we have the Indian lentil stew that's hopefully at your nearest Whole Foods at this point in time. But one thing I want to end with is talking about open source recipes for PLANTSTRONG. So I know that this is one of our internal philosophies. Yeah. You know, we're really an education company. Like, yes, we sell food, but all of this was inspired by the book that you wrote to educate others about the importance of healthy eating and, you know, diet for performance and diet for, you know, taking back control of your health and diet for the environment. I mean, these are all important. So we want to educate and provide resources for anybody who's interested in eating this way, eating a plant-based diet. And so the recipe that really inspired this and is very similar to what you're going to find on shelf.
Yeah.
We're going to post that in the show notes. We made a video a few months back with me and Evan. It was like the first time I ever did a video for PLANTSTRONG. You can tell I'm a little bit nervous in it, where we make the kitchery from scratch. And then we talk about ways to make the leftover kitchery and turn it into kitchery tacos, or put it with sweet potatoes and broccoli, or how to doctor it up to make it really delicious.
Super versatile.
But yeah, we wanted to share that with our audience.
Yeah, so we're going to have it in the show notes?
Yes, we will. We'll link to that video.
Wonderful. Another interesting thing about the kitchery is that when we brought it up to Ken Rubin...
Oh my gosh.
Ken actually mentioned that it's one of his favorite all-time dishes, and he has it once...
Every week
in his household.
Yeah, I remember that meeting.
And all of a sudden, I think it gave us such validation that this was something absolutely worth doing.
Yes, I remember that. We called him up. We said, Ken, we're thinking about doing a kitchery. What do you think? And he was like, we make that in our household every week. I can't believe nobody's brought it to the market yet.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, all right. Maybe we're onto something. Great.
Yeah. Well, Jess, this has been fabulous as usual. You are just such a... I love the thoroughness and the due diligence that you do.
Thank you.
With every ingredient that we talk about, and it's just such a joy having you. I also want to thank you, and this is kind of going full swing back to the beginning of the podcast today. I want to thank you for always showing up.
Oh, thanks, Reb.
And bringing your best.
Thank you. Yes, I'll continue to do so because we have such great motivation. I'm so grateful to be a part of this, Reb. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, plant strong.
Until next time, keep it plant strong.
All right.